Dear young African comms professional, your future self has something to say. What would you tell your younger self if you could sit her down face to face and offer her the clarity you have now gained over a decade of lived experience? Welcome to My Younger Self, the podcast where Africa's finest communications professionals reflect, remember, and pour legacy into the next generation. Today's guest is a powerhouse of purpose and precision. Daisy Wanzala is not just a communications expert. She's a voice for impact, a strategist for change, and a steward of sustainability across Africa and the Middle East. With a career that spans aviation to energy, finance to philanthropy, Daisy has advised on some of the continent's most powerful campaigns, serving brands like MasterCard Foundation, Meta, Kenya Airways, and even the COP28 presidency. Recently named the ESG and Sustainability Advisor of the Year at the 2024 Marketing World Awards and crowned PRCA's Africa's Next Gen World Cup champion, Daisy brings a unique blend of intellect, empathy, and strategic excellence to every room she enters. But today, she's pulling back the curtain. What did she wish she knew at 20? What principles have guided her through crisis, corporate rooms, and career pivots? And what can the next generation of African comms professionals learn from her journey? Let's find out together. Hi, Daisy. Welcome to today's episode of To My Younger Self podcast series.
Wow, thank you so much, Blessing, and hello to you and all your listeners. I'm quite excited, but truly honored and humbled to be having this conversation with you. And once again, great job to everything you're doing. You really are inspiring the next generation by sharing such information across the continent.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is in collaboration with the Comms Mentorship Circle. And when we thought about this, for us, it was more of legacy. Because I remember that when I started my career, I felt like I was thrown into a deep sea and told to swim out, figure it out, because I don't even know how to swim. And it was scary. And I also didn't know that I could just look for mentors, because again, mentorship at that time wasn't as popular as it is right now. But I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because it's supposed to be a lighthouse for someone else, for other people listening to this. It's supposed to hold out the torchlight and say, this is the path to go, walking in it, right? Like my Bible says. So I will start now with, how did you start? How did you get into comms?
Wow, you're really taking me back ages and years ago. I think, which year will this be? To be quite honest with you, I think the universe also played a role in it. I was positioned in strategic places that have gotten me to where I'm at, and I thank God for that. How I started, I recall in university, I recall just having a passion for brand. How would we have brand colors that tell a story, and through that story be able to resonate brands with their consumers or their audiences? Right now, I even understand those terminologies, but back in varsity, I had no clue about this is a brand, this is the corporate identity of the brand, and this is the audience. My background is in international relations with a major in criminal justice and development studies. So I didn't study anything to do with comms, but I had a passion for people. I had a passion for stories and storytelling that will make impact. And during that time, I met a good friend of mine who was running a nightclub. And as I was about to graduate, I had no job, nowhere to go to, and he was keen on starting a nightclub in Mombasa. So because over time when I interacted with this gentleman, I would be able to give him ideas. I think it should be blue. I think the logo should look like this. This is how you need to go about your marketing. He spotted talent in me and asked me, you're about to graduate school. Will you be keen to move to Mombasa, a different region in Kenya, to help me start my business there? And I mean, blessing, we all know in the African society, a young girl from a great university going to work for a nightclub as your first job, when every single person is going to the United Nations, to whichever corporate it could be. I mean, that is an abomination. I'm a village girl.
You know, I want to ask you, what did your parents say? But we'll get to that.
We shall get to that. But yes, I moved to Mombasa, helped my mentor of all times to date, called Rashid, to start his nightclub. I recall crying during those moments because, to answer your question, everyone had a perception that I had sold my values, my integrity, my just trustworthiness in terms of how my life was going to be, because I was going to work in a nightclub. But also in Kenya, you have to recognize the fact that the opportunities to jobs were limited. And I didn't have that privilege. I mean, I come from the village, so I do not show up to rooms with my father's name. I show up to rooms as my name is Daisy Wanzala, and that's as much as it gets. So I had to go with what was handed over to me. And whereas it was a tough period where everybody shut me down and said, she has lost it. From graduating to a nightclub, that's the end of her. We will never be able to see anything good that comes out of it. I want to acknowledge someone from Nigeria, Debola Lagos. I typed an Instagram DM to Debola Lagos because at that time, it was the wake of Instagram, and so you had access to every single person. I think I typed something to him and I said, this is my situation. I just graduated. I had a great GPA, but my first job is in a nightclub. This young man came to me and said, do it with all your heart. That's what God has given you. That's where God is battering you. So do it with all your heart, because this is what God has given to you, and it should be an honor. Do not go or show up to work by saying, I am above this, or I don't deserve to be here. No. It's your season to be in the nightclub, so acknowledge it, accept it, and do your best. And you never know the rest. That was the kickoff of my journey. I worked so hard. It was called Club Hypnotica. I worked so hard in Mombasa. I started doing media rounds to promote the club, to sell. I wasn't selling alcohol. I was selling a space where people come and interact with each other, and a space where we could grow talent from young creators in Mombasa, whom we had like creators nights with, or jazz nights, or just just like a space whereby everybody could come and do something different, even corporates. And so I had the opportunity to move around the region to various big corporates or blue chip companies to sell that particular identity that I wanted to be. It wasn't about alcohol, it's about what you could do with the community you've set up. And a lot of corporates met me during that time, and I had given myself a timeline. I said, should I get to win an award for working in this entertainment industry, I will stop and I'll ask, what is the next thing? And lo and behold, God was merciful. In 6 months, we won an award as the best club in East and Central Africa. We had a great rapport of great journalists within the coastal region, entertainers, you name it. Club Hypnotica was the club of the day. And I went to my boss and I said, I think it's time for me to leave. If I stay here more or longer, I just feel like I've gotten to a place where I've understood the business. It's time for a new thing. And he blessed me. And that's where my journey starts. I don't know if I shall continue with the entire story.
Please. I mean, we'll, of course, as we go along, I feel like we may touch on the other parts of your story, but I think you should. This is such a great. This is a great start, and you know, it's not very popular, right? I could never tell my dad I just graduated university. It doesn't even matter that I graduated with a lower second class degree. I would tell my dad, I want to go and work in a nightclub. Oh, my dad would disown me. Oh my goodness, he would disown me. But I'm really glad to hear that it was what you had, and you had the encouragement to do what you have, or work with what you have. And you also did your best work while at it, such that you were able to win an award for the organization was able to win an award with the work that you put into it. And that is very, very instructive. So at what point did you switch to corporate?
It's at that particular point of allow me to step back. I need to figure out the next new thing. And I remember my prayer to God was, allow me to pour my heart here. Allow allow the work that I'll do to lead me to the next place. And even though I didn't know what that was, I was confident that God will be able to show me the next space. And I mean, it's quite frightening. I mean, I'm an orphan, without siblings. Everyone relies on me from the village. So some decisions that you make not only impact you,
the entire community,
the broader family or extended family member, the entire community. You have to think about your grandmom, your cousins, your uncles. So I resigned from Club Hypnotica, and within 2 weeks, I got a call from one of Kenya's leading media outlets, requesting me to show up for an interview in Nairobi, now the capital, for a job opportunity. And that's how God works in mysterious ways, because I barely applied for that job. So when I was called to show up for an interview, to ask what's the job description, what am I coming for? And the gentleman said, yes, you're coming for a job opportunity as the head of sales and marketing for these media outlets in the coastal region, looking after about 5 or 6 counties. And I was like, I'm so young, how can I be able to work across these regions and support you with your objectives? But I mean, I showed up for the interview. I had no money, I remember. I recall asking a friend, please, I need bus fare to Nairobi. I mean, I resigned from my work, 2 weeks from post-work. You still don't have much. You don't know where the next meal is coming from or what's going to happen. But my friends were also quite instrumental into that. Came to Nairobi for my interview. And within that panel, I had written myself off because I was in a panel, or some of the other people who were going into the interviews seemed to have experience by surface level. So we are in the waiting lobby to each go in for the interview. And I can tell the lady beside me has a master's in something, has 15 years experience. I have experience from a nightclub and I am just here with 6 months experience. So we show up, everyone walks in and walks out. And then I walked in for my interview and I was told, wait. And I was like, was it that bad that I have to wait? Because everyone walked in and walked out. They left, they never waited. So I waited for a second call-in. The CEO of the media company showed up to the interview session. A couple of other people showed up and they said, and I remember this CEO, who's again one of my mentors to date, he said, I'm giving you an opportunity. You're young, you're the most inexperienced interviewee from these sessions, but I see something in you. And I want to tell you that I'm vouching for you. Do not disappoint me. And that was it. So I get my first break in corporate, and now in the biggest media outlet in Kenya, and I have to go back to Mombasa and handle not only Mombasa County, but other counties in terms of sales and marketing, with a team of about, I think, 30 people leading them for that 1-year contract. So that's where the journey starts about. And if someone believes in you, I think this just showcases the essence of mentorship, the essence of the community we align ourselves with, but also the fact that when someone gives you a job or says, I'm putting my trust in you, don't disappoint. The accountability with that, especially if you are showing up in a space where you might not be the best for the job. I mean, I'm speaking about someone who had their master's in something, 15 years of experience, and I get the job with only 6 months experience, having worked in a nightclub, in Kenya's leading media outlets. I think there's something to take home there. And anytime I reflect on such moments, I'm quite intentional about how my journey needs to be. So that's how I'm breaking into corporate, now working for these media outlets, to which I worked for, I think, was it 8 months or 1 year? And as in true Daisy fashion, I went to my boss and I was like, it's about time, sir. I don't know what I was thinking. I was young. I mean, I was young. I was full of life. The opportunity, I could go up and take up opportunities. I mean, I think I was just ready to go and say, let me push myself. At that point, there's not so much responsibility other than family and the village. So you're trying to just make the best out of what you have. Yeah. And when I resigned from these media outlets, I started my own PR firm. At that point, I was like, so with sales and marketing, with the club, I had built a network of people. And I had the confidence that now with these relationships that I've built over time, I can start working in PR as my own consultant and leverage on my networks to run a business. Yeah. So then that's when we get to entrepreneurship.
Interesting. Really, really interesting story. And thank you. Thank you for sharing this with us. So my first question, again, after this would be, do you think that your faith played a role in this?
Definitely. A definite yes. My faith has played a role in each and every sector of my life. To take you back, I am an orphan. I come from one of a very small town in Busia County that borders Uganda. And if you look at the statistics, I'm an orphan who's been made orphan as a result of HIV and AIDS. And growing up as a child, I mean, my sister or my siblings and I were written off in terms of you coming from a family whereby your mother and father are infected with HIV and AIDS. So of course, no kids are coming to play with you. The society doesn't want to interact with you. You have to figure out your own space. You have to figure out life. And I didn't know it then, but I know it now. It's in such solemn moments that I think my faith was being built. It is in such solemn and lonely moments that I was dreaming. Because a young girl in me we had a small TV. I don't know, you remember the TV? Forget the flat screens that we see right now. They had like those.
I know what you're talking about. The ones that had the back out, and then it was black and white.
Exactly, we had that, and it was sharp. I haven't seen sharp TVs over time.
Right, that's true.
The back thingy, but also we didn't have electricity, so we had to always charge batteries. So imagine the battery. I think it's a car battery. You buy the car battery. You take it to the center every evening to charge it so that your mom can watch news at 7 p.m. and then only one show and that's it. Then tomorrow you have to charge it.
Wow.
So, and we don't have friends. So I'm saying we at this point because my sister was still alive then. So my sister was my best friend. My mom was the only person I was speaking to, not so much in terms of, we go to school, we come back home and that's about it. So when you watch TV, perhaps your mom can be kind enough to allow you to watch the 4 p.m. Not news, but Oprah will come on the 4 p.m. or Tyra Banks show will come at 4 p.m. in Kenya time. And you'll be like, wow, when I grow up, I want to do this. Wow, these are the stories. I can't wait. So you start building imagination because you're now watching Oprah or Tyra or whichever show it will be. You're like, I can't wait to go to Nairobi. This is how Nairobi looks like. And that's the time the dreams are being made of like, you think, because you're not playing with lots of your age mates. You're just like, when I get to Nairobi, I'll do this. This is the life I want. So I was living in my head a lot. And whereas I did that, God was my mom would wake up at 3 a.m. to pray for my sister and I. and pray for our future, that we have a future that's beyond what she's been able to give us. And I learned faith through my mom, because my mom was the person within my life whom I saw go through full-blown AIDS. From a very beautiful young woman to a woman whose hair is falling off, skin distorted. And if you think about the years early 2000, imagine someone living with HIV and AIDS back in the day. That's different from what we are seeing right now. Yeah. So I experienced that with my mother, and her faith made her strong. Her faith got her a job. Her faith made her build a house and have something small to call our own. Her faith took me to the best of schools. And I was like, if this is what mom is doing, then definitely I'm going to follow this path. And even after her demise, even after my sister's death, and now everyone in the family is late, I was left with God and no one else, because whom do you cry to? I mean, the Bible says, I am the father to the fatherless, the mother to the motherless, a husband to the widow. All I had to go and is ask God, like, I need you to walk this journey with me. I'm now by myself. You're now the father, the mother, and the sibling. And that's how I approach life to date. Before anything, God. In the beginning, God. I can never overemphasize how God faith has been an integral part of my growth and my well-being, because he's taken very good care of me. I mean, I'll complain to you and say I lacked ice cream or I did this, but come on, it's been good.
You can buy all the ice creams you want now.
We thank God for that.
Yes, indeed. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So what would you say to someone that's listening and then is maybe a little conflicted about their faith? And just asking, I mean, I can imagine the kind of hardship you went through, and then someone else is probably just listening and is saying, I don't know that I can get out of this. The odds are stacked against me. What would you say to that person?
First and foremost, I hear them. I really do understand how it feels like to be in their shoes. We might not be having the same experiences, but I acknowledge what they're facing. But the one thing that is constant, the world will come and pass by. We human beings, there'll be a different generation in 100 years. But the one thing that has remained constant over time, over 2000 BC, we reference 2000 BC and etc., has been God. In the beginning, God. And that's, I think, the only thing that we can rely on. We as human beings, I in my career will fail the next generation, I don't want to fail them, but might fail the next generation. But God will not fail the next generation. His word is yes and amen. His promises are yes. He's not man that he can lie. So one of my favorite books, The Alchemist, I really enjoy that book to date. I've read it a couple of times. I listened to the audio severally. It is written. There's a line that says it is written. The way I interpret that line is the author and finisher of our faith has already described or prescribed our journey. He knows my tomorrow. I honestly do not know where I'll be tomorrow. I have plans for tomorrow, but he knows. And since he knows, all we can go back to is ask him to make it better, to please ensure he's walking that journey with us. And regardless of the challenges of life, regardless of the rejections of life, because I mean, there's also a lot of rejection, he is there for us. He is in our corner, and he's the one person we can rely on. He's not got, and I think one of the books in Psalms also says, a mother can do something to her baby, but God can't, So for me, that's constant. And that faith as small as a mustard seed is what has built me to where I'm at right now. And I haven't even scratched the surface. The things I want, sometimes I tell my partner, I'm like, oh, we need to do this. And he looks at me, he's like, I don't know what are you talking about, And I'm like, no, we will do it. Because blessing, I was written off when I was quite young. By now, and I say this with a lot of humility and respect to anyone who might also be experiencing this, by now I would not have had a corporate job. I'd have not been in Nairobi, Kenya's capital. I'll be in my village with a couple of kids, just trying to figure out life. But because God and because of faith, here I am. When I wrote a letter to the Comms Avenue about my younger self, I think the thing that, remember that part of being a dreamer? I used to dream about wearing some red heels in a nice car in the big capital. I really used to dream about that girl. I kid you not, now that girl. And I'm like, the shoes change from red to green to black to yellow. And I'm like, oh my God. So faith is everything. Don't lose faith. It's the best option. There's no other option. We might circumference around it. We might circle around our faith and say, I'm done with this. I'm done with believing in God. Let me try something else. But trust me, you still come back to the foundation of your life. So better stay with it instead of wasting time across board, because he who started a good thing in us will surely see it to completion.
Amen. Woo, you took us to church right there. No, but amen. I'm really glad that we're looking at this from another perspective, right? Because I mean there are many sides to this comms thing, and on some days there's just you're blank. You don't even know what to do, and next best thing is just go to God and ask for help. And I have come to understand that I've come to understand the divine intelligence of God. I've even sat down to try to understand God's perfect plan, the perfection of God and his intentionality, and how it also is a PR thing, because there's a lot of intentionality that goes into our work as comms professionals. And just knowing that there is a God that is intentional about every single thing. I mean, have you sat down to look at creation and look at the art that creation is? I also say that God is the best creative that you could ever think of. Now, when you're stuck and you're just confused and you're not certain whether this thing is going to work, or whether that strategy makes sense, or whether this small idea even makes it will make any difference in the communications that you're working on, then you can just remember that God is the master strategist, and then go back to say, God, I'm here and I'm stuck. How should we go from here? And that would also bring me to my next question. Have you ever had a time that you were maybe dealing with a moment of uncertainty, dealing with a moment of self-doubt, or just something like that, and you went back to God? Again, this is I'm asking this wasn't a pre-planned question, but you have taken us to church, so let's spend the day in church, shall we? Yes. So have you had such a time that you went back to say, God, I need you, and then you can say for a fact that he came through for you?
All the time. All the time. And even as I answer this question, the one thing I'd like to emphasize on, we all need something that we need to believe in. What that is or who that is, it's up to us. But we really need something that we believe in to believe in. And that sets the foundation of who we are as humans and how we get to interact with each other, be it in our respective industries or also just in our livelihoods or life experiences. So we need something that we believe in. And for that, we are all accountable to how we shape that relationship. Everyone has a different relationship. Moments of uncertainty for me have been more than enough. But I think the one thing, I have seen the mighty hand of God in so many spheres. I recall at my current place of work, I think there was a transition between my previous place of work where I used to work with my mentor, and she sold the company to a global firm. So within that transition to now the new firm, I knew what I wanted in terms of my responsibilities going to the new farm. I had been given the opportunity to be I used to be a personal assistant in one of Kenya's biggest PR firms, personal assistant and receptionist and media relations executive. And so when the farm was going through this transition, I knew I wanted to be a manager. I had no clue you have to go through and become a SAE as you move the ranks. I was like, I want to be an account manager, because of what I'm doing. I mean, I'm putting in the work. I'm trying my best. What can't I do? So I got a contract from my current employer in terms of now being an SAE. And I recall going back and saying, no, I need to be an account manager, and having that tough conversation, of course, with the help of my mentors who again came through, because I asked, how do I approach such a conversation? And I was so scared, but I needed the role. And I also needed the money that the role of an account manager will be able to bring, because I have my extended family that I look after. And I was scared. I thought I wouldn't get the opportunity to be an account manager. I knew they would be like, this girl is so full of herself. How dare she think from being a personal assistant? How dare she think she can just skip ranks and be this? And I asked for double salary from what they were offering. And I recall going back to my very small room at that time, and I just cried and I froze after the ask. And my then CEO reached out in about an hour and was like, I have accepted your offer. You need to sign my offer letter in 30 minutes. Blessing. I took a contract. And I was crying to God. I was like, I don't know if I lose this job, where are we going to? Because I'm not going back to the village. I don't want my village people to laugh and say she thought she could make it. No, I'm not going back to the village without anything. I have to go back with something. So that's a moment of faith. That's a moment where, and I got everything I asked for. It was a God moment. A God moment in terms of how he showed up for me. But I mean, that's my technical side. In the workspace, there's also the emotional side. I mean, whereby there's a lot happening in our day-to-day lives, be it across amongst us as colleagues, or within our clients. We are human beings having human experiences. So there are times where I feel like I'm worn out. I do not know how to get myself out of certain situations. It could be an accusation, an allegation, whatever it is. We all have a human experience in the spaces in which we are in. And in those moments, you might want to say, who will vindicate me from this? Who will show up and say, no, this girl is the girl. This is the person I have chosen to do this job. And perhaps at that point, you won't have someone as such. But my moments of God is in every challenge that I've faced, regardless of what that has been. I've always come out stronger, with more experience, and even the next thing has been better. Like, even appreciate and say, I'm glad I went through that, because now I can be able to think differently about certain situations or approach them differently. So it also inspires wisdom in terms of how I carry out my day to day. And I mean, we can sit here the entire day to just dissect what those have been, but I think I see God moments every single day of my life. Like, lastly, I really like to talk, but like I've been called the ESG Advisor of the Year in Kenya last year. I didn't apply for nothing. I got a call being told, please show up to the award tomorrow. And it shocked me. I was like, someone is watching what I'm doing, and I have no idea how many people are watching. The stakes are high, but that is God. God was there I call that award and God-given award, because there's so many people who deserved it from different corporations, but the organizers landed on me and believed in me with such an accolade, but also a responsibility in terms of shaping the narratives of sustainability within Kenya and in Africa. So for that, I'll always say God shows up in every single interaction that I have.
That's a lot to take in, and I'm glad that I'm taking it all in.
Thank you, Blessed.
Thank you so much. Okay, so when you were scheduling this call, there was one question we asked, and it was, What is one practical gem or mindset shift you'd like to pass on? And you said, obsess over your craft. Mastery isn't optional, it is the price of greatness. Tell us about that.
Blessing, do you watch sports?
No, I
No, I
don't.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I can actually influence you to join the sports I love and the team I love. There we go. I am a basketball fanatic. Thanks to my mother. In the village, we knew about basketball. Can you imagine that? My mom would be like, oh, Michael Jordan, blah, blah, blah. But I grew in the era of Kobe Bryant. I've seen Kobe across his career within the Lakers. And I look at basketball and I look at Kobe and the Lakers in terms of how I approach life. And we're here again to discuss mentorship. The mentors we have access to and the mentors we obsess with, could it be by watching them on TV, by reading things about them, but they also shape the directions of our career. And for me, that was Kobe. Trust me, they don't know I exist. So please, someone in LA knows Daisy Wanzala is our biggest fan. Not at all. So by growing up watching him, I think the key lessons I learned, and I'll speak about Kobe and LeBron because I've also become a bit warm to LeBron's way of leadership and how he's played his sports. These are the type of sportsmen who show up to the gym at 4 a.m. when no one is there. At 6 a.m., they train with their other colleagues. At 8 a.m., everyone breaks up and goes about their daily work. They take a break for breakfast, whatever it is, they're back in the gym. Kobe used to only make shots with his right hand. He had no mastery of his left hand. And more often than not, that worked to his disadvantage because his opponent will then use the left side more often. So he worked on ensuring that he's also good on the left side. He was the worst shooter, I think, of all time, but he perfected it. He knew his challenges, he knew his weaknesses, and he perfected it. And up to a point whereby there's no debate who are the greatest of all times, you'll have to mention Kobe Bryant. There is no list that will go out without a Kobe being in it. The lessons I got from observing how they worked and it was a sport. At that time, you're just enjoying it. But don't you know that you're actually taking notes and nuggets of how life should be or how your career should be. So I'm passionate about communications. I didn't study communication, but I like telling stories. And I think with that passion, because this is the work I do is influenced by passion, I have to obsess over it. I have to obsess and be so good at it. And in areas in which I'm not able to, or in areas where I have challenges on, I have to perfect that skill. And that's why over time, I've seen the skill sets within my career evolve to the next thing, from media relations to crisis, to now ESG, to, just expand to various things and be very good at it. And even in the industries and be very good at it. But the thing is, your 8 to 5 might not be enough to be able to perfect it. What are you doing to be the best version of yourself? You don't need a 4 a.m., but what are you doing to be the best version of yourself as you show up to your craft? Because also going back to faith, it's an honor that God has given me. So I will praise him with it. When my bosses are not watching, I'm going to show up and read more about ESG and try and be in spaces where people are crafting policies or reforms that will get us the next level. Because those are the little steps that will get us there. And when my time is up, a blessing, I want to say I have done the best I could, the best with the time I was given, and there's nothing else. So I look at those two individuals, Kobe and LeBron, and how they've I look at actually sports and take the layer of sports in my day-to-day work, be it as a team lead, be it as a team player, be it as a client-facing individual, as an employee, and as Daisy. For me, it's important. Mastery of craft is very important. I will applaud anyone who shows up having done the work. Because when you do the work, even though you didn't know the technical skills, you'll be better than someone who knew that and let it be to the skill in which they did.
Ooh, this has been a masterclass. Thank you, Daisy. We'll now go on to the live reflection. Hi, Mora. Can you join us now?
Okay. So first of all, I would just love to say that this meeting or the session has been so timely for me, seeing how I connected to your story on you leaving, like resigning from your first few jobs that you did working. So I recently also sent in my resignation for a role that I have been with for like 2 years now. And it
Mhm.
was mental push and pull for me because I was trying to figure out the mental space I was in for the job, especially as the job was not toxic in any way. I literally enjoyed the working environment. So I would say that I'm currently experiencing some kind of heartbreak that is self-induced
Mm.
because
Mm.
so, so yeah, that's the season that I've been in like for a week now since I left on Monday. So you saying that you left a job after 6 months, the next job you left again after 8 months. I was like, okay, that's and the difference now is that I've left jobs before, but this job I enjoyed the work environment. I enjoyed the work I put in. I really had fun coming up with new ideas, new ways we can promote the company and their course offerings. So it was almost like an extension of me in a way because of how much I gave into the work. But I realized that I came to a place, or I realized that I found myself in a place where I felt like I there was I had given what I could give.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to put this in corporate words, saying I feel like I've come to my wits' end.
Ooh.
Because the exit interview, they're asking, did we do something wrong? Is there a challenge? This, that, and you're struggling to articulate when you say, okay, I think this is the end of the road for me, nicely, not the struggling.
Mm.
So now I'm just in the gray area trying to figure out what next I want to do, what next I want to explore. So this has come in such a timely manner for me, and I'm grateful to hear your story and everything leading up to what you've become right now at this point in time. So just wanted to say that I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Mora. Thank you. And the thing I like about what you're saying is you actually are honest and true to yourself in that you've given your best and there's nothing else you can be. And so time's up. So you are your biggest push to the next sphere of what your career will be. And I pray and hope that you find out what that is in that space, whereby now you can be challenged to be in a space where you can learn, relearn, you know what they say, those three learn. And just now grow it and build it, because it's only within the fire that we are formed. And sometimes if you know where you're headed to, like, and I see it and I can feel it from what you've just said, you'll be like, yeah, I think I can do this in my sleep right now. So what's the next thing for me? How do I challenge myself to get the next space? And that inspires your growth, and that helps build a great, beautiful career story. And I mean, over time, you'll get to a space whereby you might say, okay, I still need to be here because there's something else. Maybe in your next space, you'll be able to find out new roles and new challenges. And that's why I told Blessing, for me, it's been an evolution within the com space, from one skill set to the next, to the next, to the next. And hence why I've stayed where I'm at right now for a while, unlike the other spaces where I was, because I had not gotten the maturity of sometimes you need to look internally and identify a problem and be able to open up new spaces. I mean, at Edelman, I think in Edelman Africa, I've opened the ESG space for myself. I constantly caught my CEO and MD, and I'm like, we need clients within ESG. We're the best ESG advisors. And now they've adopted it. ESG is something we work on at Urban Africa. So it's a new space, because if I kid you not, if I stayed with corporate comms only over time, I think I'd have been out. But the good thing is there was that opportunity to open what the next thing would look like for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been saying it over and over again, but I really appreciate the conversation, and I'm curious to see what sparks my interest moving forward, because yeah, marketing has been more of brain work for me, so I'm trying to take this time to allow my brain to relax before jumping quickly into the next thing, so that when I get the next offer, when I do the next thing, I'll be mentally ready to for the role that comes up here, so that I will not be moving from burnout to the next and all of that. Yeah, so that's just the space I'm in, and I'm happy to see that everything worked out for you in the end. So it's just like, oh, maybe me reflecting on my future self, because you know the thing that happens after you lose your job, when you're like, okay, the first few days is all cool, you might even go out for a little treat, and then after you look at your savings and like, okay, I don't think I can keep this up, I need to look for something now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always tell myself, when I have challenges like this, the next couple of months, in the next couple of years, this is probably not going to matter so much. But not trying to dismiss my emotions, still trying to feel the emotions I'm feeling, but knowing that it's temporary along the line. So you connecting with this and saying, oh, you were um telling yourself or seeing yourself driving through Nairobi or Mombasa, if I'm not mistaken, the both. And now the reality, yeah, I knew that something has to come out of this in the future. All the dreams reflect eventually at the end of the day. So I'll look back and thank God for the journey so far. So it was more like a reflection, seeing when you're recalling your past and your present, is now me having something to look forward to, seeing that you also were able to meet the goals or still meeting the targets that you made. So I too as well will also come again and reflect that, oh, I quit or I moved on to other things. I still had big dreams and I was able to accomplish that. So that also helped me throughout the conversation along the way. And I'm also happy that you're a Kobe Bryant fan. Me too. How did you handle that breakup? How did you handle the heartbreak?
You guys, this is not the time and space for this.
We need to mute Blessing.
No, come on now. Yeah, you can just continue that after this conversation.
Mora, I'll definitely reach out to you. But I think, Blessing, if I may just say one thing to her question, which might also just relate to what we're speaking about. It's only up until we lost Kobe in 2020 that I looked at LeBron. And Blessing, you'll see where we're going with this. So, Lakers fanatic, Kobe fanatic, because Kobe is the greatest of all time. Don't tell me anything about LeBron, because I don't like LeBron, right? I never took my time to study how LeBron plays and what has made him build his tenacity over years. And there are two different personalities here. Kobe was more lovable by everyone across different worlds. LeBron has gone through a lot of public scrutiny of who does he think he is. And to be quite frank, after taking time in 2020 to reflect on LeBron's game and personality, I realized LeBron is actually who I am. He's the person who has been misunderstood over time, but has still brought the best in basketball and has still broken all his records and I think the oldest player in the league. So it only took Kobe's demise for me to say, who's LeBron? Let me have a look. And I realized a lot of similarities that then shaped my emotional intelligence and maturity. With Kobe, I got a lot of the skill of the game, but with LeBron, I got about intelligence. How do you approach your work, your craft with intelligence? Most of us are good at what we do, press releases, content creation in terms of digital marketing. But what's the intelligence beyond the technical skill? Your Mora will be able to draft your content plan, but so will 100 others. What makes you the best is what LeBron brings to the table. And as you become the best version of yourself, there will be outside noise who will say, and who does she think she is? Who do you think you are to resign from the job we have given you without having a new one? You know, when such voices speak to you, how do you handle it? I mean, you've seen, if you now take time to look at LeBron, there's a game in which it was the hardest game they had, game 7, and everyone was booing him. LeBron, out of the game. Everyone was speaking, you know, in basketball terms, they're speaking, because you're in Blessing's platform, they're speaking badly. Like, yeah, badly is a good enough word, badly about his game. But he won. He won that league, the NBA league of that year. But the entire court was speaking badly about him, and he won. How will you handle yourself in a space where we all say you're not the best? Who do you think you are? Why are you taking the next move? And yes, you are determined to win. Because in such moments, Mora, you crash. You're like, but they're saying I'm not good enough, but they're calling me names. Let me stop doing it. How do you be intentional about winning? We shall take it offline. Sorry, Blessings.
Oh, that's okay. So I mean, this is the purpose. Forget that I said what I said. I mean, I was just it was a basketball thing, but this is why we're here. This is why we have this live reflection as a part of this podcast, because it's important to also be able to have this mentorship in motion. We're here and there's an opportunity to mentor. I won't take it away from you. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. Amora, I'm glad that you can also relate to Daisy, and I'm glad that you have a picture of yourself in the future, and that's such a big deal. Again, it's a full circle moment for me, because we started this because we wanted people to be able to see their future selves, and I'm sure that that's why the Comms Mentorship Circle also started this. And then saying on right here on this conversation that Mora sees herself, her future self, in you. I'm satisfied. I want to say I want to say don't read your letter, but you still have to read your letter, because I mean, who knows how many other little daisies are out there. So yeah, take it away. It's time for your letter.
Oh, wow. This is emotive because I think it summarizes everything, you know. But here we go. Hey girl, you made it and you will make it. Above the storms and challenges of life, here you are. I must say, hold on a little longer, observe and learn, because everything will fall into place. Remember your favorite quote from The Alchemist? It is written. As I write this, I'm seated in a beautiful office, wearing some gorgeous stilettos, red lipstick on, and guess what? I drive a red wine car. I tell you this because of all the dreams you once had about this time. And listen, they're now part of my reality. How did we do it? I can hear you ask, honey. We've mastered the art of time, allowing it to unfold, to unravel what many will call life stories. Do you remember crying and worrying about what people will think of your personality, your character? Girl, we fought that self-doubt. We created our own spaces where our cups are now filled until they run over. Best decision ever. We've mastered the courage to show up authentically in rooms we once thought we didn't belong. We've also mastered the courage to set boundaries, bravely and fearlessly knowing that what is meant for us will never miss us. But above all, we've chosen our path. One focused on being a good human with great intentions and bold visions. Remember that one time during your first job when you cried all night wondering why colleagues didn't like you? Let me tell you, Maina, we've had more moments like that than you could ever imagine. But now, my darling, we've learned to be all that we can be. As long as our heart is in the right place, that what others think doesn't matter. We all know and no explanation for choosing to live boldly. And anyone who cares to judge would ask for the full picture before making assumptions. We're now living boldly and living our parents' wildest dreams. Through it all, we've learned that God is good. And indeed, all the time, God is good. Let's face it, here we are in a place where others may have written us off. And guess what? God never left our side, not for 1 second. He is the author and finisher of our faith. In Him, we will always trust. It's through His divine grace that we are who we are, and that is enough. So, I must say, you are always good at keeping the faith. I mean, I could use your 3 a.m. prayer points and stamina. How did you do this? I'm trying, but it's becoming tough as the days go by. But in these imperfections, I hope to feel even more grounded in God's love. We've also learned that it is not our job to judge or condemn others, even those who hurt us. Because guess what? We're all imperfect beings seeking a spiritual encounter. You see, we've grown. We're now speaking like Oprah. There's so much I could tell you, but I leave you with these two truths. You will do your job excellently with hard work, discipline, and consistency. Life will throw you curveballs that only you can decide how to handle. So right here, right now, we are and we will continue to win at life. We must hunt, and we will because in God we move and have our being. With all my love, Daisy.
Daisy, you're gonna make me cry. But I thoroughly enjoy that. So, with every single person that comes on this podcast, the letters are different, which means that we have all walked different paths. And I'm really, really glad that we're doing this again. And despite us walking different paths, some other people will walk the paths that we have walked. Some other people will take lessons from the paths that we have walked. And I feel very satisfied. Thank you. Thank you, Daisy. Sometimes the most powerful strategies in our career don't come from textbooks or boardroom briefings. They come from a still small voice, a deep conviction, a moment where God steps in and reminds us, you are not doing this alone. Today, Daisy Wanzala reminds us that the path to purpose is not always linear, but with faith, obedience, and trust in God's timing, it becomes deeply meaningful. From global stages to awards to private prayers, her story echoes a truth that many of us know, but we don't say often enough. God is the strategist behind our best work. If this episode stirred something in you, share it. Let someone else hear what faith can look like, even in the world of PR and comms. And if you're navigating your own season of uncertainty, just like Mora, may this conversation be your reminder that God's hand can guide your career just as much as He can guide your calling or your ministry. Subscribe, rate, and follow to My Younger Self on Spotify and YouTube. And if you feel led, write your own letter to the younger version of you who didn't even know how deeply God would show up. Until next time, stay rooted, stay reflective, and stay yielded. And that wraps it up. Thank you, Daisy. This has been a wholesome conversation. I wouldn't have thought that we would have gone to church because again, it's supposed to be an industry conversation. But we're here and we've gone to church, and church has still brought us back to the fact that God is important in every single step, in every single corner of our careers. And I thank you really for taking us on that journey. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Blessing, for reaching out. I'm truly honored, quite humble that I got the opportunity to speak to you and your audience. Really keep on doing the great work you're doing, and let me know if there are any other opportunities for collaboration where I can assist with more markets within East Africa to get different people to show up. But good job to you and everything. And Mora, my heart is with you. I think once you said basketball and you started reflecting, I was just like, this is my girl. She even resigned. She's going to the next thing. Like, I like her. Where is she? Can we do coffee?
You know, I even feel like this because we didn't pair intentionally. Really. It just so happened that she was available. No, we didn't even think that we're going to come the faith angle. We didn't think that I don't even know I don't know your history. Before now I didn't know your history, and this is just divine. It's divine.
It is. And Mora, I'd love to keep in touch. I'd really love to keep in touch. Yeah.
I'd love to keep in touch as well. So the way the conversation happened, I remember Dami texting me last night and she was like, can you hop on this podcast? And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure of the details, but I feel like I would uncover more as the day goes by and everything. And then I was opting for the 12 p.m. slot, and she was like, taking, so you have to be 10:30. I'm like, 10:30. The only thing going for me right now is the gym. I have to be there at 10.
Yeah.
How I'll be able to make it work. And then I started having thoughts about, okay, what am I going to do right now? How am I going to navigate? Like I said, it feels like I'm going through corporate breakup for some reason. I liked or I enjoyed the work environment. So on my way back, as I was trying to rush back for the interview, I was like, okay, I don't think I want to burden, not exactly burden, but I'm sure you get what I mean. I'm not really burdening any of my friends with all my emotional thoughts right now. So again, faith and God again, I was telling God that, can you please just kind of help me to figure out what's wrong with, like, to sort out what is going on in my head, to keep me grounded in a way, because I was all just moody in the anyone. I was just doing my thing. I was leaving. I was like, okay, can you please help me sort out my mental space? I think I'm struggling. Not exactly. But, and then the conversation comes up and you start talking about your journey, and then for some reason you start talking about faith. I'm like, okay, probably is what I needed at the time. So that's why for me. And yeah, I'm really appreciative of the conversations. I would definitely really want to keep in touch to know how you are as well and everything. So thank you, Blessing. And just ask me on WhatsApp as well. I don't know her name, but thank her as well.
Yeah.
You're welcome. We're rooting for you.
Me too. You're my girls. Let's do this.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
To My Younger Self is brought to you by PR Fusions Africa in collaboration with Comms Mentorship Circle.